Yes, welcome to another episode of the Inside Out Podcast. I'm your host, Linton Felix, with my man, Micah Almond. What's up, Micah?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, and I'm ready for an exciting show, a very exciting show with two lovely young ladies who I am happy to call friend and have them on the podcast to discuss their endeavors in the world. First, I'd like to introduce bottom left on my screen and everybody else's screen too, Miss Riziki Safira. I'm having problems saying that because I ain't never called her that. You know what I'm saying? And also my homegirl Siobhan L. from we went to school together at Clark Atlanta University, and she's doing her thing out there in the world in New Jersey. And I just wanted to get in a quick introduction, say hello to everybody, and we can get it jumping real quick like. So starting off, I just wanted to say thanks for everybody tuning in again and joining me and Mike on this endeavor. And we're trying to push and put out great content out there, trying to put some cool people that we know that do really dope stuff or dope shit, whatever you want to say, for Siobhan, because you know she likes that. But you know, everybody, you know, saying we just want to go out there and put good content out, good quality people out there, and give them a chance to be heard. Anything you want to say, Micah, before we get into it?
First of all, ladies, thank you for being here today. Main thing, thank you for taking the time out and tell us about your dopeness. Rizzy, I don't know if you remember me from school.
You look mad familiar because I like gaps, so the gaps was sticking out. Go like this, let me see.
Oh, we the Gap Boys.
Okay, yeah, I remember. That's why I was like, okay. Nice to see you again, Micah.
Like you don't like him or something?
No,
I was like, I know
her
it's Rizzy, so that's all I knew in school. So anything different, I was like, huh? So,
hey, good to see you, man.
All right, now that we're back in all the pleasantries and getting to know and finding lost friends, I'd like to let the ladies introduce themselves. So let's start with Siobhan. Let's give a quick little introduction about yourself before we get going.
Awesome sauce. I was ready for my tea. I was like, oh, we got backstory? Like what be going on? No. So I am Siobhan L., the creator, master teacher, and student of Pleasure of the Muses Lab. I'm a writer by craft. I am a student of the esoteric, child of the esoteric, and I work with Black and Brown feminine spectrum persons to help them unlock the keys of their own pleasure and erotic frequency and aid them in self-realization. In a nutshell.
That's cool. Next, we got Miss Riziki Zafira. I call her Rizzy, so I'm gonna just call you Rizzy. But go ahead and introduce yourself, Rizzy.
Well, peace, fam. I am Riziki Zafira. I consider myself an educator and a transformation guide. So my work not only is dealing with helping people align to like their authentic selves, but I am a tantra teacher. I'm a tantra practitioner, where I pretty much help people discover the 7 sciences of sex as well as sexual energy. And I too deal in the esoteric arts. I more so read charts as well as like I'm just, claircognizant. Social entrepreneur. So pretty much any business that I create, number one, I manifest it through like really great orgasmic energy. But secondly, it's always geared towards helping the community. So, I do a lot.
I know. That's my girl right there. I told you. You'd be doing a thing. Lovely. Thanks for having you both on the show. So let's jump into it quick. First with you, Rizzy. How did you get into the field that you're in? As we can see behind your career wellness.
Yeah. So it's funny because clearly you were my ex-boss at Art Institute. So after I graduated, I don't know if you remember, but one of my things was even though I majored in advertising, I always knew I never wanted to work for anyone. And I just wanted to know how to always advertise what I'm doing. So even after I graduated college, like that whole thing wasn't, it wasn't, I was miserable. Like I made good money, but my soul was just like, And I always knew I had gifts of healing and talking to people and people listening to me and just, helping people. And so I got started understanding my chart, my own chart. And when I got good at that, and I do sidereal astrology. When I became great at that, it allowed me to see all of the other possibilities I have within myself. So yoni steaming, Reiki, like I said, sacred sexuality and sexual science, creating my own school. Pretty much like life just taught me to exercise all my gifts and not to be stuck in a box. So I just pretty much do what I want. If it comes to me from spirit and I'm supposed to do it, I do it. And just the most consistent things that's been coming to me is this integrative wellness work, alongside other professional endeavors. But where we are as a people, I really saw the need for me to focus on the wellness.
That is pretty dope. And we're going to get into more of that because you said a lot of things in there that I need understanding and those are some of the questions. I'm not sitting here like I know anything. You said all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
The one
Same
thing,
here.
tantra and all that, I got to ask questions about that. But
Sure.
we definitely going to ask. But definitely now we're switching over to Siobhan. And the same question goes to you. How did you enter into your profession, chosen profession?
You know, I'm not even going to say this was a chosen profession because I didn't choose this life. This life chose me. I didn't choose this life. I wanted to be a communication consultant. I'm a mass comm major from Clark Atlanta University, CAU. And my goal was to transition into a communications role. I went and got my master's in strategic communication. I wanted to be a communications consultant. That was my goal, but I always had a passion for writing. So I could say my portal or my gateway was through writing. I was an erotic writer, and I used to do submissions like erotic poetry, erotic stories. And in 2014, under a pseudonym, L.T. Robinson, that I retired years ago, I published my first novel. So I'm a published author under that pseudonym, but I'm a published author. And from there, I started working with other authors doing developmental editing. So publishing and writing was just kind of my pathway. And I realized a lot of the authors that I was working with, even though they weren't writing romance per se, they had specific scenes that were erotic or sexual, and they were whack. And I mean, like, I emphasize whack, like I emphasize whack. And that led me to create Say It Was Sex. So before I transitioned out of Say It Was Sex, originally it was a writing course on how to write sex scene. And
to write sexy or sex scenes?
Sex scenes.
Okay.
So it was a writing course on how to write a sex scene. And as I started piecing that together, I realized that people write from their experience. So if you had some sexual trauma, if your sexual narrative and how you view sex is a little perverse or adverse or linear, as a writer, you're going to write from that space. You're not going to broaden your view.
Okay.
So it made me take a step back and say, okay, well, who are we in sex, and how do we change and shift our sexual narrative? And that gave birth to Say It Was Sex. And I ran Say It Was Sex as an online platform, a community platform, for 3 years. And the shift came when it started time for me to teach, because I am a teacher by divine right. And now, instead of just writing about sex scenes and eroticism and all these thoughts that are imparted to me by the divine, because I also work through spirit, and tarot is my modality, and it's how I view and see the world. So instead of just writing about it in short form content, now it's time for me to teach. So that's pretty much kind of where my path has been. I've done workshops. Well, I gotta censor myself a little bit, but it's called Heal by P. P is for the badge. But Heal the P. I can't say the rest of the word because you got me on censor. But Heal the P is the name of the workshop that I created last year. And it's really about tapping into that energy, right? Because I'm very keen on folks who are gender nonconforming and non-binary. So how do I speak to them and talk about things like divine femininity or divine masculinity and tapping into your yoni, because that's an energy, right? Or how to hold properly. That's the energy, right? I came up with a guide called How to Hold Properly.
I know the whole guide. I was about to ask
the
you.
whole guide, right? We'll get into that, but
Definitely.
that's an energy. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't identify as a woman or as a man, how do I speak to you? So it made me take a step back and start redefining language and how I speak and reframing it and coming up with different ways, different words that are gender neutral so that no one else feels left out of the conversation.
That is dope. That is all encompassing, I should say. While listening to all those words and all your thought, my question to you is, when you guys both, you and Rizzy, when you first started, this is my divine right, this is my calling. Did you have any pushback from family? Because like you said, even though we're on here, you're saying, I'm censoring you. Yeah, we're censoring, but just the fact that in our community, the Black community, sexuality, sexual trauma, and things like that is not discussed. And I know, Siobhan, you have the whole guide, and a lot of times, the actual whole, anything dealing with sexuality and embracing yourself, is seen in our community as she's a hoe. When you started, what misconceptions did you have to deal with and to break through and to get people to understand what you're ultimately trying to do?
All of them. All of them. All of them, because the biggest one is that there is a disconnect between sex and spirituality because people don't see the intersection between the both of them. They think sex and spirituality is different, but then also they confuse spirituality with religion, and religion is different from spirituality. You can have spirituality without religion, but you cannot have religion without spirituality, because religion is specifically foundational. These are the practices and the discipline that you use in order to stay connected to spirit. That is your religion. But spirituality is who you are. Like, we are of spirit, so we are spiritual people, and evoking that and channeling that is part of our divine right. So when we say to people that pleasure is your birthright, or that you can manifest what you want through sex and through orgasm and through tantra and ecstasy and things that are ethereal, when you say that to people, because if they think of sex in a linear way, then I'm speaking gibberish to you, and you're never going to understand what I'm saying, and you're never going to connect those two concepts together. So the first myth we have to dispel is that sex and spirituality are different. They are not mutually exclusive. They are synonymous and inclusive. So just barreling through that linear thinking and encouraging people to unlearn certain narratives around sex and the erotic and sensuality. That's like the beginning part before we can even get to all the fun stuff that we like to do. Before I can tell you about your whole type, you got to dispel the myth that you having multiple sex partners is nasty and uncouth. I got to get you there first. Before I could tell you use a pussy hoe. Like, before we can even get there, I got to get you to understand that just because you engage in sexual arrangements with other people, does that make you nasty? It does not make you dirty. It doesn't make you uncouth. It's just how your sexual energy wants to express itself, because sex is energy.
Oh, that's great. And you, Rizzy, Karen, piggybacking on what Siobhan just blessed us.
Well, my biggest thing, aside from everything she said, that's the biggest part of my work, is re-educating people about what sex really is, and sex is just as much as spiritual as anything else. So I consider myself a temple priestess, because I understood that the temple priestesses in the beginning of time was the first sacred whores, right? And then the world, made it a bad name. So I'm very much aware that that's my lineage. My great grandmother was a madam. Before I even knew about her, I was already kind of in the work before actually knowing what I was doing. So my first struggle, and I can't even say with family. My mom, was always supportive. My dad just really didn't know. But again, just knowing the certain things that ran in the family, nobody had the right to tell me anything
Mhm.
about what I was doing. And my next biggest hurdle was to educate women and men that all women are not the same,
Yep.
that all women are not meant to have just one partner. And so one of the biggest misconceptions was, women's role on the planet. So in my work, in tantra, sacred sexuality, and tantra is spirituality. So I
Okay,
want to
that's
be
what I was
clear on
gonna ask
that.
you. Before you go further, can you explain what tantra is?
Yeah. So tantra, that word, I
Mhm.
use it because it's most popular, but I want everyone to understand that this life science, because that's really what it is, existed way before this term tantra was even thought of.
Mhm.
So tantra is a life system. It's a life science of knowing how we are connected with everything and that we're co-creators in life. So tantra is a Sanskrit word that means to weave light and sound, because light and sound is the primary ingredients of creation. And
Mhm.
so, like, even right now, we're having sex. This masculine and feminine exchange, and whatever it's going to birth, whether it be inspiration for somebody or an idea, like
Mhm.
we're having sex right now. So tantra is a life sciences of understanding how we are connected to the universe, and how spirit experiences life through the body,
Mhm.
right? And so that's tantra in a nutshell. So my curriculum isn't just sacred science and sacred sexuality. It's also elemental healing, like healing through the elements. It's also energy medicine, knowing how to utilize your own life force energy to heal yourself and others. It's
Mhm.
also mental health and behavioral health and emotional intelligence and emotional maturity and relationship science. All of that stuff before we even get to the sex, because the most explosive sex is when you've cleared and healed from your shit, that a lot of people aren't really doing. So that's that. So yes, to answer your question, I want to make sure I'm staying on track. My biggest hurdles again was, yes, educating men
Mhm.
and women that there are different types of women. And as a temple priestess, I do understand how our roles in society actually help society thrive. How the work we did with men and women created more um, activated and awakened human beings to
Mhm.
contribute their gifts and talents to the world. So as a temple priestess, that's my job. I work with men and women to activate to their highest, best, and authentic selves so that they can contribute what they're supposed to the world.
That's amazing. That's amazing. From what I just heard, basically, sex is not just a physical act. It is
Not at all.
of metaphysical,
It's
spiritual.
yeah.
It's just the energy
It's
exchange,
energy.
basically.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's energy exchange, and even like some of the best valuable lessons, is experiencing, a orgasm all over my body, not just my genital parts,
Yep.
and orgasmic energy all over my body can come from a hug, could come from a dance, can come
Mhm.
from a smell of a flower, a man's cologne. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so because we've been so over sexualized and
Mhm.
penis centered or vagina centered,
Mhm.
we miss out on all the other possibilities of what relationship and sexuality can really bring when we are associating it properly with spirituality.
That's
Mhm.
that's amazing because I know for me, my first ever connection or hearing of tantra was through a movie like in
Yep.
the 90s. I think it was
Mhm.
called Run or something. Oh, or something like that. It was like the point of view, the movie was like everybody was at this rave and it was like 6 or 8 characters, but every time it switched, it was their point of view of the same event. And one of the dudes was
Mhm.
like, tantra. And I was like, so is it they were like, oh, it's an internal orgasm. But now understanding it's not just an orgasm from sex, but it's
Mhm.
just a
Orgasmic in life, like be
Mhm.
orgasmic in life. Yeah.
Yeah, because the orgasm is just simply a state of being.
Yeah, it's a state of bliss.
It's a
okay.
state
And
of bliss.
mhm.
Okay, that's pretty dope. And now, Siobhan, you said something earlier, uh, and I watched some of your writing where you dealt with the over sexualization of you yourself because you developed early at a younger age, and that's something in our community that we've we have going on, and it's almost written off as, oh, that's just old men being funny, that's
That's
just
sickening.
so and so of older men, the biggest one is R. Kelly in our community right now, of preying on younger, developed young women. How did your dealing with that and your writings kind of push your platform forward?
So it's interesting that you say that, because I just touched and agree with being like the holy auntie, and holy spelled
You,
HeAuxly, holy, the holy auntie. So I
uh-huh.
just touched and agreed with being like the holy auntie, the holy big sister. And in my stories, I asked the question, like, if you had a holy auntie or a holy big sister, what would you ask them? And someone responded to the question and asked, are you and your girlfriends cougars and exhibitionists? So to tie this into the R. Kelly piece, I specifically said that I do not like cougar, right? Because I just turned 40. So I don't like the term cougar at all. It's misogynistic. And I pointed out that monarchies and dynasties were birthed through the wombs of 14-year-old girls who were married to 40 and 50-year-old men. And no one said anything about that. No one labeled it. No one gave it a thing. So for someone to, I don't even know where this term came from, for someone to say that about an older woman or seasoned woman who has an affinity or an attraction to someone who's, 10 years their junior, their senior, however they go. I don't know how that should go anyway. But who's
usually after the younger, suppose that's what they call it.
Senior, junior, I don't know what the hell that should be. But for somebody to say that, it's misogynistic, and it's that double standard thing, right? So to tie that in, that helped me, because I took a lot of the men looking at me, right? I was very uncomfortable with my body, because I'm very busty, and I've been wearing a bra since I was 9. So it was very, very uncomfortable just in my body.
No?
I've been wearing a bra since I was 9.
Wow.
I was a C cup when I was 9.
Oh.
So I've been busty all my life. It's genetic. It runs in my family. And to have older men look at me as I am this mature thing that they want, to look at me like a thing, to look at me as if I am this piece, object, this piece that they can just kind of do their mess on. It challenged me to take my emotions and put it into paper, but also speak out on being over-sexualized and objectified. So through that, I share a lot of my findings, a lot of the things that I learned over time, how I've been able to advocate for myself, how I've been able to speak up for myself. But also I speak out against men who are imparting these double standards on women and making it seem as if that's just the way the world is, and that they can't shift with it, they can't change, which is a lie. Because if you can change your underwear every day, then you can change the way you think. You just have to actually want to do it.
That's the key thing. Like looking at just the oversexualization, all that. It's if you want to change, you can change.
Yeah.
It's not just, this is just how it is. It's literally the man, and that's what I'm always kind of like, from you guys being advocates and doing all these things. It's kind of like something like this should be more to teach men, so to speak.
Yeah.
And women.
I was going to say, and women, because with R. Kelly, let's not forget his sister molested him. And I'll say this, one thing that makes me different from a lot of other female facilitators is I call women out on their bullshit just as much as I do the men, because women are not perfect. We are just as much raunchy and ratchet as men. So let's just cut that. Let's cut that out. Let's not act like one gender is better than the other. One is more holier than thou, because that's just not true. And that's what I wanted to say about the R. Kelly.
No, for real, because they're even with the whole younger girls getting married into rich and whatever, being betrothed, it was the mother that was facilitating that, because they wanted to expand their wealth. So a lot of the moms were facilitating their young girls being betrothed to these old men. So there are a lot of women who are misogynistic. I wrote an article about that. they're very
Yeah.
misogynistic, and they think that this is how a woman is supposed to be. You are supposed to just lie there and let a man do whatever he's supposed to do, and then you're
Mhm.
supposed to bear the babies and take care of the home and whatever dreams and stuff that you have that goes on a back burner, because that's just not how the way the world works. And you need to provide for this family, and you need to be able to bring in the riches and expand the family name and the lineage. So a lot of women are facilitating this, and
Yeah,
they're
and I also
Go ahead,
And
go
I
ahead.
also say, okay, so let's go back to, and I so agree. I don't like the word cougar. First, I'm a leopard. Okay. If you study animal medicine, I'm a leopard, honey. We are fine. We are fierce. We have our own territory. We respect other leopards who got their own territory. We may come together. What's up, girl? And then after that, chuck the deuces, because we got our own empires and stuff to run. That's first and foremost. Secondly, I encourage all women, if you are, to have some younger man, because why? Part of sex is one of the sciences of sex is regeneration.
Mhm.
First and foremost. And this is and
What is
subconsciously,
regeneration?
and this is why the education has to happen again, because a lot of older men go after younger girls, not because they are consciously perverted. It's that youthful essence they're after. It's that, because every time I have sex with this younger girl,
The
I
energy.
feel regenerated. I feel, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
There's so
okay.
many sciences to sex. And
Mhm.
that's another thing too. Another a spell. So a spell I had to start re-educating on. Men and women who are out here having a lot of sex, they're not hoes. They're hurt. They're hurting.
Okay.
They're traumatized. You see what I'm saying? Like
Well,
there are, we have to be mindful of, we're quick to label things without understanding the root or the foundation from how or why it's happening.
mhm.
And so when I do talk to a lot of men, and they talk about hoes, but then when I hear about the hoes they're talking about, they had daddy issues or been molested or whatever the case may be. When I talk to women about their men who are out there hoeing, they have mommy issues. They're afraid to connect with their heart. They think being emotionally unavailable is safe. So sex is their cover. So it's this negative term that we just like to throw around, but there's so many layers to it. And people could look at my life, and I ain't gonna lie, after a certain amount of men, and this is just me, I don't care, I keep it real. After a certain amount of men, I stopped counting. So my thing is, you could label me a hoe. Okay, I mean, if that's what you want to do.
I would
But at the end of the day, looking back, some of it, yes, I was damaged. I had daddy issues. I really didn't know, but love was. And the older I got, and I realized, like, why my sexual energy so high. I was having sex to feel alive.
that.
I was having sex because it made me feel. There wasn't a rush in life. There wasn't a rush life could give me besides sex.
It's
You
almost like
get what I'm
your drug of choice.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so the more I healed, I learned how to transmute that energy. And yes, I still have lots of sex, but now I use it to manifest,
Mhm.
or heal my organs,
Mhm.
or go into altered state of consciousness and access my Akashic records. I may be having sex with him, and I could tap into your ancestors.
Okay.
And then I have a message for you. So, like, we have to really change our view about this. And it does matter who you do it with, right? It does matter, right?
Yep.
And so I think the more we're educated about it, we'd make wiser choices as to who we're having sex, both men and women. Because in my work, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna pass the mic, when I work on men, I be having to clean a lot of energy off y'all penis. It's a lot of toxic and dirty and nasty women y'all been with, and you not realizing how that's showing up in your life right now. So.
I know Micah got something to say.
friends.
I knew you were gonna pass the mic this way. But do you all receive a lot of pushback from women, like when you tell them this, like that
They
you've
might
been
be
through
the problem.
something,
Yeah.
or do you all receive any pushback? In terms of that,
What do you mean they've been through something? Like, what do you
or
mean?
just past trauma, or things like
I'll
that, or
say, I'll
addressing that?
say, I'll say for me, when I start to work with women, and it's funny, they'll come to me knowing what their problem is.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we dig deeper, I'll be like, nah, like, or I'm healed from that. No, you're not, because this is why you're single or you're having a relationship problem or whatever, or the pushback, accountability. Oh Lord, don't let me say that word.
Uh-huh.
Listen, and as a woman, I will say sometimes we get on my damn nerves because we don't want to be accountable for the role we played in some of these crazy ass situations.
Yep.
Okay, so
and I see Siobhan over there.
Because
and whatnot. Siobhan, you got something to add to that?
I totally agree. I want to say I wrote this piece called "Do You Know How to Be a Wife?" And of course, the answer at the time was no. But a lot of it was me holding myself accountable for crappy situations that I was in, and taking accountability for that. Like, yes, that guy was like a really shitty person, but you know what? I saw this and I saw that. And because I was trying to change someone, or because I was trying to, or hoping this person would see me, I just allowed them to do whatever they did to me, because people can only do to you what you allow. So if you allow them to do that, then that's kind of on you, right? Because you can say, no, this is not the direction that I want to go in, or no, I do not consent to this, or I'm pulling myself away from that. But if you allow yourself to get roped into it because you're searching for something, or you're trying to use other people to complete you, or you're trying to fill a void, then you got to cycle through some shit. So that, and then most people, so because I do tarot, before someone comes to me, I already see you. So I already see you. Like I see you, because I am. So Rizzy says she's clear. Rizzy says she's claircognizant. I'm claircognizant, clairvoyant, and clairaudient. So I see. I visually, I get visions. I see. I just be knowing. That's the claircognizant. Would you just be knowing? You can't quantify where the information is coming from, because spirit is just giving it to you and you just be knowing. But then I also hear spirit in my ear, like it's a conversation. So when someone's coming to me or they're booking with me, some people will stalk you first. I don't do that. But when we start our session, I see you. I see all of that, because I'm allowed to see. I'm given permission to see you as who you are. So if I'm pulling these cards and I'm telling you what the cards are meaning, and I'm telling you what your spirits are telling me, not my spirits, what your spirits are telling me, I'm repeating what your spirits are telling me, and you tell me, no, that's not it, then I already know you full of crap. Because you already knew what I was going to say before you came here. You was just hoping that I was going to validate some of the crap that you want to hold on to. But that is not why we're here. Because if you're going to come to me for some insights and some guidance, if you're going to come to me for some consultation, be prepared to get the truth. Because I can't lie. It's just not, it's not in my nature. It's not in my makeup. Even if I try to kind of change I can't do that. There's just a mechanism in me that makes me accountable for the information that I have to share to you. So I just don't lie.
And your team will whip your ass too. Your spiritual team, because they'll whip mine if I let people, if I sugarcoat or I don't tell the full truth, or that's
you be in a state of unrest. So if you come to me for this information, I have to tell you what it is, and I'm not gonna validate your crap. I just can't do that. So there is a lot of pushback, because sometimes people are just not in a space to receive, and they'll go from person to person, getting readings, getting their astrology chart done, getting oracle done, getting mediums, akashic records, and we all telling these people the same shit, but they just refuse to accept that is what it is.
But do you think that has to do with this idealized concept of relationships that we have, not in just in America, but it's in this world, where you're looking for this picture perfect, like you guys were talking about.
The Disney effect.
I was dealing with dudes who I shouldn't have been dealing with, but we've been romanticized. So
we have been
that oh, let me find a diamond in the rough. He may be a bad boy, because we always talk about good girls of the bad boys. But is that because we've been told if he's good and he has the look and he has an energy about him, we can fix him, and therefore now we've created and manifested the perfect man for us, when in actuality we should be like, me and this gentleman and I know, Rizzy, you have relationship classes at your university that probably, and from my readings, have deal with that communication and understanding of who you are and what you want
Yeah.
life and going forward, and in turn out of a partner.
Yeah, and my thing is, number one, why are you attracting who you're attracting? So, like, because I'm a temple priestess, and it's not just in the building and we're in the temple working on people. I'm a priestess of the body, so I understand not just your physical body, but your energetic body and the information that's in it that's responsible for attracting what you're attracting, and then number two, what's helping you decide that that's okay. Right. So a couple of things. Certain women date down so that they don't have to rise up to a certain occasion or rise up to a certain responsibility. Number two, they date down because wherever in life or whoever in life made them feel like they weren't valuable, working on this project, this man gives them a sense of value or purpose or to feel needed. Right. So there's also like a codependency there as well. Right. Let's do another kind of situation where, we may choose to date men when you talk about the bad boy or whatever. So all women like to feel protected, right? So there's 4 archetypes in the masculine energy that I teach about and 4 archetypes in the feminine energy, even though that there's more, but there's 4 main ones that I focus on. And there is this natural wanting and yearning for women to feel protected. So sometimes that bad boy image is their way of feeling protected, even though they don't realize there's nurturing you still need, there's leadership you still need, there's provision you still need, spiritual connection you still need. And let's just be real, we're taught that the bad boys have great sex. And that's another thing, right? Because the corny nice guy may not have the good, know what I'm saying?
No, trust. No, I was a good guy.
Well, I don't know, but that's what I will speak for myself. I associated bad boys with having some good D, okay? And most of the time they did. All right, I'm gonna lie. But that's only because I wasn't giving the nice guys a chance. But there are nice men out there with good D. So
no, I think that it's just men. I mean, what they do with their lives, it's that doesn't have a bearing on it.
I get you, but I'm just explaining the mentality.
The psychology of it.
Yeah, but I will say though, depending on, because I saw Siobhan, I'm like, yeah, because I can't speak for her. I have sex with men, so I know. Okay, so my thing is that there is a certain energy that a man carries that does contribute to his sexual performance. It just does.
That's true.
What is that?
It's like a swagger. It's like a swagger or a confidence that that person has, where they just innately know, like, I know I got this energy and I know I'm about to bend you back and bust it open. So it's just an energy that they have, and it's a natural energy. Some men know that they have it and they take advantage of that and they utilize that, and that's how they hook, line, and sinker a lot of women. Yeah. And some men maybe don't know that it's there, or maybe it only comes out in these emotional and intimate connections. But it exists, just like the women who are lady in the streets, freak in the sheets. It's the same type of energy. It's the same type of energy.
Energy. So we just call that game, but it's really an energy. Like
it is an energy.
It is an energy.
It's an energy that you can maneuver and turn it into game, because energy is just this existing thing, right? But as the wielder of the energy, how you choose to wield the energy is different. And that's why I kind of break down the whole thing about sex, right? Because people are like, oh, you need to abstain and your body is a temple. And me personally, I don't look at my body as a temple. I look at it as a living altar, right? So when people say that sex is this thing and you have to abstain and you just can't let everybody in, which is not wrong. It's not wrong that you can't just let anybody in, because it's still an energy exchange, and you can attach yourself to different entities that you may experience during sex, because sex is also a portal. So you open things and you're open and you're at your highest self in sex, right? However, if you know how to wield that energy, because sex is just this thing, it's an abstract thing, as the person who is in control of the energy, if you know how to wield the energy, you can avoid yourself from getting attached to multiple people. You can avoid yourself from getting caught up and being demonetized and all this other stuff. You can avoid these things if you properly know how to wield that energy. But if you want to use those efforts for negative, then that's how people get roped in the game.
Wow. That's a very, very comprehensive take on that. And I know as men, we've always been told, like, if if you got game, because we always teased each other growing up, you ain't got no game, and it was more based on words. And like, but then when you actually pull back and look at it, it's not just the words, it's the confidence and the energy you
It's
exude.
the essence.
Yeah.
It's the essence. So one of the most beautiful things I love about this work is that it taught me to appreciate essence more, which is how the caliber of the men I dated started to change. So like there could be a guy I would just walk past, right? Not, but because we're trained, oh, looks and everything like that, we miss people. So even like if I'm teaching a class or doing a workshop or whatever, and then there's a guy who looks, he may not be in the dopest clothes or whatever that is, but when he puts his hands on you, he becomes more attractive than any other man in the room because of his essence, and it works the same way for men and women, like, both ways, which is another reason why, a lot of infidelity happens, right? Yeah. Because you could be in a relationship, and I truly do believe you can love somebody and cheat on them or break the contract. I truly do, because I understand that you have this man or this woman, and oh my gosh, y'all love each other, y'all been through all this, and there's so many great things about him or her, but then there's something that's also you're not experiencing. There's still something missing, because everybody can't operate at 100% of the time. Okay, so if I have this great dude, oh my gosh, he's a great lover, he's a great provider, I even feel protected, but when it comes to him leading, he may lack in that. So therefore, I may be attracted to this other brother, and we may not even have sex, but just his intellectual capacity, just his ability to guide me turns me on. And then we may end up having sex because he's carrying an essence of that masculine energy that's missing over here. Right. And so it works both ways. So a lot of times, even in relationships, when people aren't understanding, oh, why did he cheat? Why did they step out? Or, I'm not up for this open relationship. I got to explain, like, listen, these are different essence of woman that man needs. These are different essence of man that woman needs. And if you're slacking, it opens a door for some shit to come in. Yeah. That ain't you.
Facts.
So,
whoa.
Facts.
That's amazing. That's an amazing take on that, because, we're always kind of like thinking, like, I don't know how to put it. We grow up and we're given these ideals of what we're looking for, monogamy, marriage, and all that. But how do we grow? Because as you get older, based on what you're telling me, like when my younger self is going to approach love, relationship, sex, probably more on the sex and the physical side.
Yes.
1920, because it's new to you. Your body is just now like developing. You got hormones, you got energies exploding everywhere, and you just want to release and you want to get that feeling. But as you get older, realize it's more of, okay, that touch. The first time you experienced a touch or a look, someone gave you a look, and for some reason, that one person out of a crowd of 1,000 made you stop.
Yeah.
Like we have to almost, like, as men and women, as we get older, understand that what we were at 19 and some of us at 40. Michael, what are you, like 31? You, Rizzy, like?
I'm 37.
Oh yeah, so yeah, there's a Micah the young boy. So it's like
Aw.
talking to you guys, it's an understanding of there's growth.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
always be understanding that growth. You always have
Mhm.
to be cognizant of who you are, so to speak, and in a relationship, who the other person is.
Yeah. In a relationship, y'all are growing together and things change. And that's the thing. Like, you know, I really had to take a look at relationships before I decided what I wanted because a lot of people want relationships, but you don't know what you want though in a relationship. Like so it's like the universe is confused. You want a relationship, but you don't know what the heck you want. So how can I give it to you? And so before I became, open, I really had to define what was true for me.
Mhm.
And um exploring monogamy, and I'm gonna be honest, it was hard staying faithful to one guy, right? And the times that but my thing with me is if I did step out, I always told myself I'm a bad liar. And then when I always like if I felt like cheating, I
Mhm.
would tell him because I'm like, this is an opportunity for us to fix this. You know what I'm saying? I feel like stepping out, so we need to have a discussion, right? So, and a lot of people ain't even ready for that kind of conversation, but instead we'll be in a fantasy and we prefer to be lied to or just not know. I'm the only one. No, it's totally normal for humans to desire other humans. It's what you do with it that matters, right? So I just decided for myself that the kind of relationship that I want that conversation to always be an option to be on the table because I'm not about to sit up here and live in a fantasy world.
Okay.
It's after 10, 15 years, it is highly likely we may need a little variety or whatever that is, and it's about an honest ass conversation. And so for me, I do have a husband in Ghana and I have a partner here in Charlotte. My husband in Ghana, we do spiritual work, we do herbal work. When you saw me going over there,
Yeah.
buying the herbs and bringing it over here to sell, that's our arrangement. And that's another thing. All marriage and relationships ain't based on sex. Some of this is spiritual contracts. Some of this is we're supposed to work together to do work for the world. It ain't got nothing to do about sex. So even my partner here, we're more sexually active, but we also produce products and do events. Like this ain't just, we're out here having just meaningless sex. Like if you're going to have sex with somebody, what are you producing? What's the
And
purpose?
the essence of sex, it's supposed to be the end result of your union, so to speak. So you
It
get
don't even
together
have
and
to
then
be
you
the end
create.
result.
You get
It can be the beginning. If you are if you're having an honest, and let's just we're grown adults, right?
uh-huh.
And I'm going to be honest about my journey. I had to in tantra. There's a process called imprinting, right?
Mhm.
So imprinting, let's just say I've had this history of just like horrible men, right? And so whatever intelligence is in my energy field that was responsible for me attracting these horrible men, I have to change that. And
Okay.
that intelligence got there through experience,
Mhm.
through me actually being with these men. So what do you think is it going to take to change that? Experience. So
Yeah.
I will say there were men who I purposely had sex with for the imprint.
Okay. That's
I'm
an,
letting you know
Wow.
but to change my energetic profile to attract this kind of caliber man, we can have sex because I understand this ritual that's about to happen. I understand the imprinting that's about to go on. And I'll teach him some things while we're having sex so that I'm printing him and he's imprinting me. And it's wonderful.
that's wonderful. I never looked at it that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Mike,
I'm learning that. That just blew my mind, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, what's the
I mean, but if
purpose
you
if you're
think
gonna
about the women you've had sex with, you've attracted all those women and chose all those women because of the imprints you've already had. There's a similarity to everyone you've had sex with. There's a type. And
okay.
even there may be some stragglers, but there's a type because that's what you've been imprinted with. So to change your experiences, to change the caliber, to change the type, you imprint with that type. And so it's a lot of sexual science stuff that
Oh,
that
Yeah. Oh yeah.
we're learning
Yes.
right here. This is what we were looking for. Well,
yeah, I know I'm changing in front of y'all, but we're family, whatever.
we
Okay.
family, and so's the
Yeah.
world.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Yeah, we sure are, fam.
But so now that we've gone through that, and it's got me to thinking. And I know Rizzy, you got to go in a minute, so we're gonna focus on you for a little bit.
That's okay, go ahead.
So you started your university. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that.
So Stacey University was when I came back from Ghana. So Sesa wo Suban means it's Twi for to change or transform one's life or character.
Mm-hmm.
So I started Sesa University as a just it's the school that I feel like we should have had. It's still growing, but because I understand, number one, we as melanated beings learn different. And a lot of the stuff that they're teaching in school ain't really useful when it comes to life, spirituality, health, and wellness. So Stacey University is that manifestation. So I started with Stacey University School of Integrative Wellness, where, you know, everything that I talked about from astrology to energy healing, sacred sexuality, I have courses in that. And then I'll be opening the School of Business and Entrepreneurship next year, and I'll be opening other schools. So my vision is to be like this unofficial HBCU, but it's going. We're offering like life classes. So that's the premise behind Stacey University.
And then also the community aspect of it, the entrepreneurship. I know you're big on that.
Yes.
Looking at your info, bringing together small Black businesses and
Mhm.
whatnot, promoting those in the Charlotte area.
Yeah, so I'm here in Charlotte. So every quarter, Stacey University will have an event where we have vendors come out and sell their products to the community. And I just partnered with Make It Happen Charlotte, which is an entrepreneurs hub here in Charlotte, where they teach about like business funding and business credit and all those things. And she's like kind of a mentor to help me open my school of business and entrepreneurship. But yeah, even from that to the Juneteenth festivals, like any event that I could throw that deals with bringing the community together, we're circulating our dollars, and having fun, and you're learning, like you're networking and all that. That's what I'm gonna do.
That's amazing. I want to say I'm truly proud of you, Rizzy. Like,
thank you.
I know people always, like full disclosure, when I first met Rizzy, this energy here, people were afraid of this energy. When I started at Art Institute, I'm gonna be honest, full disclosure, because you said we can't lie. You don't lie, so I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right.
And I started at AI as the head of IT, and they said, well, there's a young lady there. She's works in the department. She is they were proud of it, that she is a leader in the sense that she can bring people together for a cause. And they're like, but the thing is, she can also influence them and could take them left. And they were kind of worried that she may have too much influence on not only the student workers, students in the building. So they said, just let's see what we can do with her. And I remember the first time I met Rizzy, they were like, there's this girl, you got to find her, blah, blah. When you meet her, you'll know who she is. And I walked up to the lab, to the IT area that day. I was coming in and you were there working, and you're like, oh, you must be Linton. And I saw you, and I saw your energy, and I saw how everybody was just coming to you, even it was just checkout keys and whatnot.
Yeah.
Standing there talking to her. And we got to talking, and I was like, oh, I see what they're afraid of. I wasn't afraid of it. I understood what she was trying to do and who she was. Like, she honestly wasn't there for her own self. But Rizzy was the type who would be like, if somebody was being wronged, Rizzy would lead up a protest.
I damn sure.
And she had already led a protest, and that's why they were like, you gotta watch her. I think you had organized some kind of protest, or you were trying to garner some support for something.
When the school talking about the AI factor. When we started the club, they wouldn't let us have our own bank account. Yeah, I remember that.
And they were like, because she was smart and she understood it, and she was bringing up good points. And then they were but they were like, can we just kind of hold her down? And I was like, I'll take a look. I don't know what you want me to do to, you know what I'm saying, soon. But as I got to know Rizzy, I was like, she she had this power. And I always utilize it. I'd be like, Rizzy, I need you to be my leader of my student workers here. I will support you in what you want to do. And
You
boom,
did.
she
Thank you,
did.
Linton.
You know what I'm saying? Even when she was late,
Wow.
don't worry about it.
I know.
Just bring me 10 piece with fries. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just proud of you that you're able
Wow.
to, in
Thank
your
you.
words, manifest who you are today.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
your university, seeing what you're doing with the community in Charlotte, and just what you've done throughout. And your journey is amazing. From where I
Thank
first
you.
met you, where I knew she had this energy and this potential, to see you now, watching you in pictures, leading classes with couples, doing these retreats where people are looking at you as the leader that I always saw you to be.
I
And it's
appreciate that.
I don't want you to look at me as, I know it's like, oh, you were my old boss, but like, college is just a
I
moment.
know.
You know what I'm saying? That's how.
Yeah,
And the fact that we still know each other to this point, so it's beyond that relationship.
it
So,
is.
in your
Yeah.
own words, we have grown.
We
We're
have.
we
Oh
have.
yeah.
So
We've definitely grown.
I'm super happy to have you on the podcast, and I know
Thank you.
all the walking around, she's getting her outfit together because
I am, but I got some time. I told him I'll be late, but I appreciate that, Linton. I had no idea. That's actually a compliment. I was like, should I be mad? But that's a compliment, so I'm not mad at that.
when you're on the watch list, it's a compliment. That means you're doing something right. You're doing
That's
something right.
crazy.
I'm super
Wow.
proud of you and your CC University, with the things you're doing in Charlotte, with the community, with our community, not just the community, our community,
Yeah.
trying to change some, let's say, some pains and some traumas that a lot of
Yeah.
don't even realize, because it becomes so
Oh.
commonplace that it is what it is.
Yep.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
the hoe, he's a player, this, that. We have to transition to understand that it's more than just for the gram. It's more than just an image. Life,
Yep.
this life that we're on, this journey that we're on, you have to learn to fully appreciate it, fully understand it, and fully live it. And
Talk about it, because listen, this ain't, and that's one thing. Yeah, this ain't no Instagram shit, and I ain't trying to, I'm watching my word, but yeah, this is a lifestyle. This is real life. And a lot of our work, and I'm so grateful how, Siobhan, you broke down the difference between religion and spirituality, because I'm getting so many women from the church sneaking into my inboxes,
Wow.
talking about some of them feel like they got demons because they want to have sex. I'm just like, what the heck? I vended at a gospel event. Now, I would never be caught at a gospel event, but no shade. But women had to sneak to buy yoni steams. Yoni steams? Oh, give it to her. Like, people can't know you buy yoni. I'm just like, Lord, it's crazy.
Because they classify all that stuff demonic. And yoni steams is a centuries old practice that our ancestors have been doing for centuries, forever, for eons. And even when you talk about African traditional religion, ATRs, that's demonic. How? When that's before we were colonized into Western Christianity, because it's not even the correct version of Christianity on top of that. Because if you're not reading from the Ethiopian Bible, then
come through now, Coptic. Come through now, Siobhan. Come through.
This different, you know what I mean? So when we start talking about things like Yoruba, and we start talking about Fon, and we start talking about Candomblé and all these other the different iterations of these ancestral practices that we have, and people label those things demonic, like even hoodoo. And hoodoo is definitely a hodgepodge of, well, not a hodgepodge, because somebody's gonna kill me for saying that, but hoodoo has a Christian, it's traditionally African American, but it has a Christian base to it, right? So even that is its own religion that was born and bred in the States. So even when you say that, there's still a disconnect from there. So I just find it interesting how people call specific things witchcraft and demonic, but they practice these things on a regular basis. And it's like, how? When we doing the same thing, you're just labeling it differently, and you're utilizing this book that you call the Bible, you're utilizing it and you're coupling it under there, but it's the same thing. Me praying at my altar and you praying at your altar is the same thing.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
And then they try to take out the sex magic that's in the Bible.
Song of Songs.
People
That's
don't
a
even
whole
understand
book.
like the codes in there. And you're right. And I tell people all the time, whatever Levant, so don't quote his name. Whatever they was practicing in Haiti to kick the colonizers' ass, I'm okay with that. Don't tell me that's evil. That's great because So it is a very touchy subject, but yeah, big shout out to all the women in the Christian church. Listen, ain't nothing wrong with wanting your back blown out. Is nothing wrong with getting some good D. No, I'm serious. Don't let nobody make you feel like your coochie got to grow cobwebs for the Lord. Okay.
I mean, Ruth was pimping herself out for the right person. If we gonna really have this conversation,
and Mary Magdalene was really Jesus's. That was her. Okay, now so let's not. And that's even a whole. There's a book. Dealing with sex magic. Yeah, I have it on my desk. Yeah, dealing with sex magic and Mary Magdalene and Jesus Christ, and how, and you talked about how your body is your altar. And I love that because I do say the body's in the temple, but inside my temple I have shrines or altars, which are the chakras, or you know what I'm saying? So it all goes together. And yeah, it's a beautiful art, man. I tell you what, I love it.
Wow. Well, Rizzy, what's today? I know you're about to hit the road. I don't want you driving and podcasting.
No, this is fine. This is fun. I like it. I have until 7:30 or whenever y'all are done. I'm rocking with y'all. They'll be all right.
All right, no, we'll appreciate that. Well, Siobhan, we're gonna switch something to you. I have a question for you.
Yes.
As far as your writing, right? When you write, and I've gone down your Muses Lab page, and you have what are you writing just from a feeling, or are you saying, hey, I'm going to tackle this issue?
No, I think it's just whatever pops at the moment. Like wherever my energy is being led, I'm a very intuitive writer. So everything that I do, because I try to be tactical like that, which is interesting because my day job is social media. So I'm a social producer and I work in healthcare marketing, and I have to be tactical there. I have to be intentional. I have to be tactical. There's not much intuitive movement that's happening there. But when it comes to my creative practice, it's very intuitive. Like that Juneteenth piece, that just pissed me off because when they made it a national holiday, I felt like it was co-opted and it's commodified. And I didn't think like, oh, it's Juneteenth, let me write about this. It was, I'm feeling this right now, and I'm just going to put that out there.
That's amazing.
So most of what I do is very, very intuitive.
That is amazing.
So you do like to keep it organic and based on feeling?
Organic is possible based on feeling, wherever I'm being led, because there's a story. I'm a storyteller, so there's a story and there's a root to everything. So my goal is to bring you on the journey of wherever my spiritual core is leading me, the part of my assignment, the part of my destiny that I'm supposed to enact, that all of that energy, I have to bring you on the journey. So I have to bring you there and then get you to the place where you need to gain the information.
That is dope. That is real dope. And staying on topic with you mentioned you have that corporate 9-to-5 job. How is that balance for you, being Siobhan, the corporate entity, and Siobhan, the medium, so to speak?
It's interesting because I'm embracing the fact that I can have two careers. So that's one thing, right? So I'm embracing the fact that I can have two careers, but then I'm also learning how to respond to what each of those different aspects requires of me. So in my corporate space, I'm methodical, I'm strategic, I'm a leader, there's a leadership aspect to me. For anyone who's indicative of tarot or understands tarot, I'm a queen of swords in my corporate space. And in my creative practice, I'm a queen of cups. So I'm very nurturing, I'm very intuitive, I'm very creative, I'm very sensual. So I'm just learning how to first distinguish between the two roles,
Yeah.
and then understand how I need to show up in both of those areas so that I can properly create balance.
That's amazing. I really like how you structured that, because I know myself dealing with that with this venture into podcasting, trying to like the things that I want to talk about and the topics I want to touch, not not being afraid to let it. I don't think it should affect what I do for somebody else
Mhm.
for money, not making it seem so diabolical. But you know,
Yeah.
this is who I am, and this is what I do. I do
Mhm.
Yeah.
this to make a living, but this
Right.
is who I am and the things that I'm interested in. And I don't think, I mean, you still have to be cognizant of what you say and do, but I don't think you should
I
be
don't.
okay. Well, you're braver than I am. I'm not saying I'm not brave, but certain topics I don't talk about unless I'm knowledgeable in them, and
See,
you're knowledgeable in yours. So you talk about things like this. I bring you on to talk to me about, because I don't understand. Not that I'm afraid. It's just I don't know too much about it. I've seen these things, and I've now garnered an interest, and I like some of the thought patterns and the way they go about, especially with the relationships, being a married
mhm.
man and all these things. You're like Rizzy said, 15, 20 years. You're like, okay, what's the next? What's the next? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I
And
totally
I'll
get that. Oh,
go ahead.
oh, okay. No, I was saying I get that. So I think the thing is with a lot of people, when you have a creative aspect to yourself that's
Mhm.
offline,
Yeah.
people assume that you won't walk away from the day stuff. Like I'll dip out because my creative practice is what I am here to do.
Hmm.
The day stuff is a means to an end. So
Hmm.
it's there to support and fund and make sure that I'm stable, make sure that I'm safe. But if at any point what I do during the day starts to interfere and intersect with my creative practice, what I was called here to do or what I touched you to, I'm still trying to decide if I actually decided to come down here to this room, because I don't think I did that. I think somebody tricked me. That's another conversation for another day, because this is ghetto. Like, this is trash.
Girl.
But if there is a conflict somewhere, if there's a in conjunction somewhere, I have to walk away, because
Yeah.
what I do during the day can't interfere with the greater purpose. Because
Yeah.
the greater purpose looks different for everybody. Everyone is not meant to save the world. It's not meant to heal the world. Some things you're meant to do on a hyper local space, right? Even just creating this podcast, this could be hyper local for you, but that could be part of your purpose to connect people together, to bring information, to share information, to educate your community. That's hyper local, right? So
Mhm.
if at any point what you do to just kind of maintain starts to interfere with whatever your purpose is, big or small, you have to decide, am I going to stay and just kind of fight this, do this tussle, or if I'm just going to walk off? And the thing is, people don't think I'm going to walk off. Like, I'll peace out.
Run up
Yeah.
plug, so to speak.
Yeah. Yep.
I do
I
that.
mean, and I gotta piggyback off that. I mean, Linton, I think working at the cage was the longest job I've had. I quit every job I had since I graduated college, because, like she said, it took me away. And matter of fact, working those jobs helped me realize that this ain't it. This ain't where I'm supposed to be.
Hmm.
And like I said, my soul was miserable. And that's another thing with this life about tantra, and it's no different from kind of what is being taught in spirituality or religion. When you step into your purpose, you're provided for. Like
Hmm.
you're good. And even going back to relationships, right? And I always tell people, like, what is your relationship doing for the world? Now let's talk about some high science now. Yeah, like, let's talk about some high science, like, real talk. Because some people who are in marriares aren't you ain't supposed to be there. Like, this is why y'all not producing nothing. This is why y'all not having a good time. Like y'all soul contracts ain't aligned, right? So even people who are together, like, what are you producing for the world? You know, and I think Siobhan, well, I don't know who was mentioning this. I don't know. I'll be in a lot of conversations, but there's a science as to why people get together. There's a reason why certain people are having sex and they trying to have babies but can't. Your semen and her eggs do not have a good relationship. It's not that you're infertile. It's not that you're barren. His sperm don't connect with your eggs. There's a science to this. So even like with couples who've been together, you know, and first off, congrats for making it however long y'all made it, because for you to make it shows like, okay, there's a purpose here. And the fact you're asking what's next instead of F this is over. It's a great thing because you're trying to grow into something new and different and expansive to bring y'all closer together. And the most beautiful thing I've seen, you know, aside from, hey, honey, you know, your career, I'm gonna support you, but to see couples working on each other, to see couples like energetically holding space, energetic foreplay, vaginal mapping, penis mapping, like, you know,
what's that?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Uh-huh.
So men and women have not been properly educated on all of the erogenous zones in the body. Most importantly, the vagina is a freaking portal. And the vagina has a G spot, a U spot, an A spot, the PB muscles, the CB. The C spot. There's a lot of different spots in the vagina that responds to either pressure or friction to create an orgasm. But that's not it. It's also locked to memory. It's also locked to certain experiences that happen. So a lot of women today, like I challenge this. I challenge if y'all got a lady at home, I want y'all to go and just say, babe, let's do some vaginal mapping. And as you feel around in her vagina using this finger, she will most likely tell you there's certain parts that are numb, or certain parts that are super sensitive, or certain parts that, you know, whatever. And a lot of our women, we walk around with unactivated vaginas. So vaginal mapping is when a man maps the woman's vagina to activate all of those orgasmic zones, as well as there's something that happens where you tap on certain parts of the vagina and it may trigger a memory of trauma that she didn't know she was holding on to. This is why her vagina is numb. This is why her G-spot ain't dropping, or whatever that is. Same thing with penis mapping for brothers who have been circumcised. Y'all got cut off from like 12,000 extra nerve endings. That contributes to your orgasm. So the circumcision to your penis was the first sexual trauma you've ever experienced. So now a lot of brothers aren't really experiencing orgasm to their fullest potential because you ain't even realized parts of your penis is numb or deactivated or traumatized. Ooh, don't get me started, child. It's a lot, man. I'm telling you.
Wow, that is a lot. I never knew there was penis mapping. I've heard you say that.
Oh, yes, honey. Yeah, there's penis map. Even if you look at yes. Well, I'm signed up for the class because I didn't even tell you how to map a vagina. But I'll say this because this is information everybody should know. You can look up genital reflexology and you will find that the heart, spleen, kidney, pancreas regions of the penis are supposed to align with the heart, spleen, pancreas, kidney zones of the vagina, right? And this is the true essence of sexual healing, because some of y'all penises and vaginas ain't matching. So therefore, when a penis enters a vagina and these zones aren't lined up, I mean, yeah, you may have an orgasm, that's great, but that energy is supposed to heal them organs and every other part of your body. But because y'all genitals ain't matching up, you know, we're missing out here. So when you look up genital reflexology, you will see that there are zones on the penis and the vagina that have reflexology points to the organs. And then there are just certain things you just won't find in books, because there's a whole reflexology map just on the head of your penis. I don't think y'all know how magical your penises are, because if you did, you and I ain't talking to y'all now, but as men learn the magic of their penis, you would even be picky who you stick it in.
Should be.
Lord Jesus. Should be. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was very picky.
Okay, that's good. All right, that's good. That's good. You were picking.
They call me David Blaine. I'm a magician out here.
Oh my. Good night. Good night.
She
That is
said good
amazing
night.
right there.
Good
Good
night.
night.
That whole conversation right there, that was amazing. I've heard about the vaginal mapping, but I never heard any. I've
Yeah.
heard people say
Yeah.
penis mapping, but I was like, how do you map a penis? But you know what I'm saying? Like what you're saying right now, like that goes deeper into like relationships. Siobhan, go ahead. I saw you.
No, I was getting ready to say, think about any time that you got with a woman and you stuck it in and she just was dry. That goes back to what Rizzy was saying. It's because y'all sacral, I call them sacral bits. Y'all sacral bits are not aligned.
Wow.
That's what happens.
Or her just being non-orgasmic. What about like the non-orgasmic? And a lot of times we be having to fake it, don't we, Siobhan? Hey, ain't we been trained to fake some orgasms? Because
laying there like a starfish.
Shit.
You get that starfish sex, or what they call the Cinderella sex. I call it Cinderella sex. That's
right.
Cinderella sex where you hoping and wishing for a power boom bang and you don't get it and you just underwhelmed. That's that Cinderella sex. And that's because your energies are not aligned. The energies are just not it's not there.
Whoa. Hey.
Yeah.
Micah, I know I see Micah's eyes, and I'm 45-year-old man, and I'm like, I'm blown away right now. I'm blown away at things. These are things that Rizzy, why you ain't tell me this when we was together at the table? Rizzy?
I'm just saying. Man, listen. I had to re-educate myself too. But what I will say is, Brother Linton,
go ahead.
I definitely encourage you and your wife to explore that, because it takes relationships to a different level, man. It's like, yo, can't nobody, like, there's already a bond, right? Like, okay, we made these vows, but man, when you hit that level, it's gonna be hard for that relationship to mess up. Okay. It just is, because or get boring. Now I wanted to say mess up or get boring, because that's a level of intimacy a lot of people they're not ready for, you know, and it does bring up shit. Now let's not get it twisted. You know, like certain work together will help you bring up blind spots where both of y'all need to work, but it's not for, you know, going separate ways. It's just like, okay, now we realize this, how can we make it better?
Right.
You know, so yes, honey, but I may give y'all a lesson. I'ma just say though, when wifey's vagina, I'm not speaking on your wife's vagina. All respect to the queen. No, all respect to the queen. But in the event there's some more awakening work, I'm gonna need you to be ready, because she gonna be on and popping. So you may have to call off work or something, but she gonna be like, Linton bags, and you better be ready too, man. I'm tell you. So don't get into the work if you ain't ready.
For real. Because once you open the door, it's hard to close.
Work. That was amazing. Yeah. Michael, you was gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say I'm learning all this. I'm like, Rizzy, why you never told me this in school? You could have broke that down to me. All that is just. It's amazing. I'm learning a lot.
I mean, what you're saying here, Rizzy, there's a lot of young men, and I know what Mike is thinking. Like they've like the trauma that a lot of us go through. It's just based on trial and error. What you don't, you may not have gotten it from your parent, or you may not have gotten it from your community, because what we're talking about here today alone would be taboo. People would be like, "Oh, don't talk about it like that."
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's private. But what you're trying to say is it's not a public show. It's an understanding of self, so to speak.
Yeah.
So the more you understand yourself and understand your partner, the better your relationship can be. Because it's not just you're married, and the American ideal is you're married, you work hard, birth some kids, you stay together, you be faithful. But in between there, like, what do you do?
Exactly.
How do I keep it so we can keep doing these things and whatnot? So I know Mike is thinking, like, if I was a young dude, I would have loved to have something like this.
I would love to have Michael on my table. Where you at, Michael? I got some students in Atlanta. Where you at?
I'm still in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got some students. No problem. Get you right on that table, player.
This would have been something great for younger men and women to understand. It's not just about sex. and
Right. But this is what
value
we did though. This is an art we lost. You
Mhm.
know, like when Siobhan was talking about how back in the day, like 14, 15-year-old girls was marrying those
Yeah.
50-year-old men. And I'm not saying, but you know, some of them 14-year-old girls was trained in the sexual arts already.
Mhm.
They were already trained.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it
you
wasn't
know,
a
and because so we got to think about the time and the climate. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be funny, but as a 37-year-old in certain time areas, the intelligence I have now would be considered juvenile because we were way more
It's true.
advanced.
Yeah.
It's very
You
true.
see what I'm saying? So
That's true.
there was a time where even though the girl was 14, but spiritually, consciously, subconsciously, she may have been 27. Just like
Mhm.
how today you can go in a lot of African villages, and a 4-year-old could be considered an elder
Mhm.
because of their spiritual ashe.
The spiritual elder.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So in no way am I condoning, you know, these young girls having underage sex. But when I hear those stories, you know, I understand why, because there was a time all women had to be trained in this art. When you research the white tigresses of Asia.
Mhm.
Now, we the temple priestesses of Het Heru, we, you know, they got all their science from us, but there are white tigresses even to this day who are trained in the sexual arts, and they will have their dragons, their men, the jade dragon or the red dragon, who serve their different purposes. And again, they understood what this kind of sexual energy does for the world. So a lot of politicians, even people in the churches, high ranking people would go to these temples and engage in certain work because they understood they needed to be activated and awakened to keep going. So like I said, as far as young men, definitely I totally see the value in young boys. Like, this should be a part of their rites of passage
Yeah.
starting at like 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just listening to it, I'm like, if I had this kind of advice and information at a younger age, I myself was never Mr. Stick it to him. I was like, you know, but at the same time, I was unaware and wasn't really, how would I say, I didn't have the ability to really understand what I was getting into.
Yeah.
It was more or
Yeah,
less
that
like
discernment. Yeah.
yeah, it was like I was longing for it, but it was more of a physical thing. But
Yeah.
then
Ego
within the
driven.
physical, sometimes through that orgasm,
Yeah,
you might hit a plane where you're like, people be like, "Oh, that was the best nut I ever had," but in essence, you feel like an out of body experience. You're like
Yeah.
every molecule, every muscle, your
yeah.
toes, you wiggle your toes, and you're like, "Whoa!" So you know,
Mhm.
like if I
But
understood,
then what happens after that? You go back to that same empty feeling, and
uh,
then you go back to having more sex.
Mhm.
and
To
I
fill a void.
at that age, yeah, at that
At
age,
right at that
Because it's
age,
ego
yes, at
driven.
that age.
Because it's ego driven. It's not intimacy driven. And
yeah.
Yeah,
when you start to learn more about yourself and learn about more about your body, sex
Mhm.
becomes intimacy driven. But at that time, when you're just exploring your body and just
Yeah,
kind of like passing it around like candy, it's ego driven.
yeah. Or we like to call it penis centered. Very
Penis center.
penis center, yeah. And
Mhm.
what you call intimacy, like intimacy center, we'll say heart centered, same thing, just different
Mhm.
language.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
very accurate. You move from, you know, one state of consciousness, because your penis does have its own brain, it does have its own
Mhm.
intelligence. But
Mhm.
then
Yep.
you know, the more mature and knowledgeable you become, it becomes more heart centered, you know. And like you said, when you had those orgasms, you felt all of those things, the molecules, and that's what makes it so powerful. It's a shortcut to that dose of oxytocin, serotonin,
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
chemicals that help us, you know, experience that DMT experience. They say orgasms is like mini deaths.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what they call orgasm. They're, you know, because
It's close to
there's
death
a,
or
and
something like that.
especially with women, you know, when there's a certain sexual energy she rises to, and especially when man and woman are engaging as a couple, or the energies, there's an altered state of consciousness that happens. So there's a So like when we're working on each other, and this is no sex involved, this is just energy exchange, there's a phenomena called expanded sexual response, and this is a scientific study. You can look this up, ESR, expanded sexual response, where it was shown, and I've even experienced it on the table, where you get into this orgasmic wave of energy, you go into an altered state of consciousness, because the orgasm is lasting for a long period of time. And it's in that moment where you start to create the reality you want, because of all of the chemicals that's going on that communicates with the cells and the neurotransmitters of the body, and then also how it communicates to the universe. So working your energy up to where you can be in this orgasmic state for longer periods of time to really manifest and heal your body, it's amazing, man.
That's that whole tantric sex kind of, that's what I always heard of, tantric sex. Like that's what it was. It was an elongated orgasm where almost it was like you're creating a new being, so to speak. Like it's not the same you. With this new energy, you're a new you, and trying to harness that and whatnot. Wow. Well, Rizzy, I see you here on your way to your.
Okay, yeah, I'm in this. Look, it's been so fun. Siobhan, nice meeting you. I would like to connect with you outside of this. Okay, thank you so much, Linton. Thank you so much, Micah. And we're gonna get you on a table in Atlanta, Linton. If y'all need some couple stuff, hit your girl up. I got you.
All right.
Okay.
I love you, Rizzy.
Thank you,
All right,
Rizzy.
peace, y'all.
Bye, Rizzy.
Bye, sis.
Wow. Yo,
She's a maze boss.
What's that?
She's a maze boss.
Oh yeah. That's Rizzy. Rizzy is short for energy, bro. Like she is energy personified.
Yeah, she's a maze boss.
Amazing. But now that you go, what I'm saying, we're gonna continue with you, Siobhan, for a little bit longer if you don't mind.
I got a little bit of time.
I know before you gotta go do what you gotta do.
Sleep and take this bra off.
I know.
Pretty much.
Today's Saturday? Oh, it feels like
Sunday. Today's Saturday.
Wow, like Sunday.
Yeah, it feels like Sunday.
What's that?
I said it feels like Sunday.
Yeah. It does. So now, Siobhan.
Yes.
We both CAU graduates. We came out 03 or whatnot.
Yep.
But I remember the you that you are now. When we were in school, that wasn't my perception of you. Because Siobhan was always, you see Siobhan smile on her face, and she seems so demure and so innocent. And then after college, I connected with her online, and I started seeing your inner you. And I guess that's when you started your discovery process. And I was really amazed. Like, she's really like this woman that I didn't even know in college. It's like, this is a whole new person. Like, am I correct in that assumption? Like,
well, it wasn't so much a discovery process. I think it's and I hate that Rizzy's not here because she would know, because I'm getting ready to do astrology a little bit. She's sidereal. So I am a Scorpio rising and sidereal, but in tropical astrology, which is the astrology most of us are familiar with, I have a Scorpio moon. So because of that, I deal in secrets and mysteries. So I show outwardly what I want people to see. So outwardly, front-facing, people are going to assume that I'm, quiet and soft-spoken and demure. But behind the scenes, like with my girls and with my friends and everything, this is the type of conversations that I was leading already. Like I am the person that I have always been. It's just the world is getting the chance to experience what everyone else has already known me to be. But I have also evolved and gotten comfortable in my skin and I don't feel like I need to compartmentalize myself.
Man, if I had known this about you in school, the TV shows we were doing at CAU TV, they probably wouldn't have let us do it. But
no, they wouldn't have.
They would have been like, no, that's not going on the air. But that would have been a dope topic to address back then. I'm just like, from what Rizzy and you have been saying, it's just the understanding of self. And not understanding of self, but how your being applies to somebody else. That connectivity, like that's amazing to me right now. Like I'm really over here thinking, like, how can I be better right now for my wife, for my kids, my community? Like I never really these theories and these applications, I never really saw sex as that. It was just like, okay, I understood sex as
Mm-hmm.
an act, but it's also a connection between two. And that's why when
Yeah.
I said earlier, I was joking that I was Mr. Magic Man. I wasn't giving it away because honestly, from my upbringing, I was told it wasn't something even as a man that you
Mm-hmm.
just go out there willy nilly. And
Right.
the structure
Absolutely.
that we have in our community, and I think it's where everywhere, families aren't always the nuclear family that we know, father, mother, and maybe you have a dad, you have a father, you have a mother, they may not be together. I come from that situation, as many
Yeah.
of us are. And it's a beautiful situation because now your family is big. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just one family, it's now I'm bringing in everybody. So I'm happy that it happened to me. And I grew up in that way, but just understanding better who I was as a young man, maybe would have led me some mistakes that I've made. Wouldn't have made those mistakes. Those I don't want to call any young woman I had a relationship with a mistake, but maybe
Lessons.
it wasn't. Yeah, it was a blessing, but maybe it was a blessing I shouldn't have been going after, so to speak. But even
Good.
now, as go ahead.
No, no, no. Go, go.
No, but even now as a married man, I'm like, I'm looking this has got me like maybe from the beginning I could have approached marriage differently to
Mm-hmm.
to better enhance it. Not saying I'm definitely not saying I don't want to be married. That's not what I'm saying. I know my wife listening, so the ring's here. Like, you know what I'm saying? But just as a man, making myself better. Like that's like we all searching for that. When you're younger, it's just about the experience of life, just getting to see it. And when you hit that threshold of 35, 40, now you're
Mm-hmm.
like kids and everything, you're like, how can I make this life better? How can I get more excitement out of life? Not just sexual excitement, but just in internal excitement out of day-to-day things. Like I have my kids, I have my wife, but sometimes you need that extra. How can I give myself more energy? That is
Yeah.
totally amazing.
Yeah. It's all about, I talk about pleasure mapping. So I learned from a colleague of mine, associate of mine. Her name is J.T. Perry. She's
Mhm.
based in Chicago, and she talked about a care map. And it made me take a step back because I'd never heard of a care map before.
Yeah, what
So
is that?
So care map is literally like a blueprint of what you use to ensure you care for yourself. Like
Mhm.
the person that you need to speak to if you're going through some crap, right? Any type of tools you use, shows you watch, music you listen to, is
Mhm.
your map. So that is the thing that you go to when you're feeling in the space where you need to soothe yourself, right? So because I am a student and a scholar of pleasure, I said, how can I transition this care map into a pleasure map? And that's how I came up with 30 Days of Pleasure. So utilizing the senses, right? Taste, touch, sound, sight, utilizing those different things and breaking down pleasure into mindfulness, playfulness, sensuality, and art and artistry, right? How can I take those different elements and create a pleasure map for myself? Things that bring me pleasure. And pleasure, we assign it to things that are sexual, right?
Yeah.
But you get pleasure just, I always use ice cream because I love ice cream and I'm an ice cream fiend. So just that good spoonful of ice cream, or even just the coolness of air conditioner on your skin on a hot day, that's pleasureful. The warm sheets, that's pleasureful.
Mhm.
Like those things, a hug, that's pleasureful. So tapping into those non-sexual aspects of pleasure and utilizing it to create a map. When we're thinking about mindful pleasure, I talk about mindful eating. So tasting your food, tasting all of the seasonings and the different elements and the different parts, the textures of your food, that's mindful eating.
Mhm.
Setting an intention when you're eating that this plate of food that you eat is going to get you full so that you don't overeat. That's
Mhm.
mindful eating. So those little small nuances. So having a map for that for yourself is a way that you can then start to elongate and expand your self and self realization. Because we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The
Mhm.
top of the pyramid is self actualization.
Yeah.
So, how do you expand past that? So, you start to create different things, nuances. You start tapping into Tantra if that's what you want to do, and experiencing
Mhm.
more orgasmic ways and the states of being that you can have. You have your pleasure map, you have your care map. You just start to create a roadmap of things that allows you to just transcend this one space that you're in, so that you're always in a state of evolution, as opposed to feeling stagnant or feeling some sort of inertia, like, well, where do I go next?
Wow, that's great. That is amazing. Like, so basically, it's like self care. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be sexual. It can just be like, I'm thinking to what you're saying, like just something that makes you feel good. I know, just for me, riding in the car, listening to some music from my
Yes.
youth. That's not popular music, but something from when I was having
Mhm.
a really blissful time. That
Mhm.
particular song puts me in that energy, and when I
Yeah,
get out the car, I feel like the 22-year-old self. Wow, that is
that's pleasure.
never really. I just thinking it. Oh, it's a memory, but
Mhm.
now that you're saying it, like I do step out the car feeling like I'm 22-year-old me, and I'm broke down 45-year-old me. That's crazy. But one thing I wanted to get into, your whole guide. Before,
Yes.
I wanted you to explain that what what it is and how it helps. If
So
if I'm phrasing it correctly.
no, that's fine. So I call it the whole guide, like short. That's like the short nickname for it.
Yep.
So was it last year? 3 years ago, 3 years ago. So first, some backstory.
Mm-hmm.
So I created the guide called How to Hold Properly,
Mm-hmm.
a guide to preserve your sacral bits, because that's what I call our body parts. Our penis and vagina are our sacral bits,
Mm-hmm.
connected to your sacral chakra. So your sacral bits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was inspired by me being in this situationship with a guy who I thought we were just, free flowing and doing our thing. And he popped up like, oh, I'm getting married. What? Get married? You're engaged? Okay, cool. So, navigating through that, I did an IG story, and I was like, I was talking to one of my girls via DM, and I just started an IG story, like, how to hold properly. First thing you do, don't catch feelings. That's
Mm-hmm.
the first thing you do when you try, if this is what you want to do,
Yep.
if you really trying to be out here having sexual arrangements and sexual engagements and experiencing sex and journeying and whole phasing and all of the stuff, the first thing you do when you want to hold properly is you can't catch
And what is
feelings.
it? Vaginal mapping as well. Vaginal mapping.
The vaginal mapping, all that, penis mapping, all of
Mhm.
that. You can't catch feelings. If you
Okay.
got a hoe, you can't catch feelings because hoes don't
Mm.
catch feelings
Mm.
because hoes are just hoeing.
Okay.
And I just continue. And I came up with 10 different ways to hold properly. And I took it from my IG story and I turned it into a guide. And that was the inspiration behind that. So for women and men who want to engage in sexual arrangements with people, but need a certain set of guidelines,
Okay.
certain set of boundaries to keep them connected to themselves in their body, not giving
Mhm.
so much of themselves.
Mhm.
Here's some 10 steps that you can utilize. And I sold it, didn't sell much because I wasn't selling it for much. I think I sold it for like $1.
Yeah.
So I didn't sell it for much, but
Mhm.
I took it down because experience, evolution, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I'm going to republish it, and it's going to be How to Hold Properly, a guide for the intuitively inclined, because there are a lot of us who are highly sensitive people, and we connect emotionally and energetically to people. And sometimes that tends to be, don't mind me, I have like allergies, so I'm like all over the place. So that tends to uh, play a part in how they connect with other people.
Okay.
So how to protect yourself, whole hygiene. I talked about this the other day in my stories. Whole hygiene, right? How to cleanse yourself. One of the things that I'm always dispelling is this myth about soul ties. So Rizzy talked about soul contract, which is different. So
Mhm.
sometimes people think a soul contract and a soul tie are two different things. So folks will tell you, oh, you don't want to sleep with all these different people because you're going to create a soul tie. Lie.
Mhm.
Only way that you create a soul tie with someone is if you have a soul contract where
Okay.
you connect with somebody and y'all have a purpose to do this specific thing here. And even if you meet this person, the energy of this person, the essence of this person, even if you meet this person, if that person is not ready to fulfill that part of the destiny with you, in every lifetime, y'all have to get together and find each other and fulfill this contract and fulfill this agreement. That's where contracts and soul ties come from. Just because you sleep with someone, that does not mean that you have created a soul tie. Your soul is not tied to that person. You have exchanged energy, and that energy needs to be cleansed off of you.
Okay.
Myriad different ways that you can cleanse. You can do some meditation, you can do some spiritual baths, get some herbs, crystals. There's so many different ways that you can cleanse your energy and just bring yourself back into the body, because like we said, sex is a portal. The vagina is its own portal. And if you don't close that, you just leave yourself open to magnetize so many different things. So home hygiene is important, because that ensures that you and the other person or people you decide to have sex with are safe, energetically, emotionally, spiritually, physically. You need that. Just like you have spiritual hygiene, just like you have physical hygiene to cleanse and keep yourself clean, you need that. It's important. So the whole guide is that guide for anyone who decides that is where they are in their life, because that whole energy and that whole persona, that's it's a phase, but it's a time. And sometimes the phase lasts longer than just my 20s. Sometimes people just stay in that whole space, and that's just where they are, and that's where they're comfortable being. That's their personal choice. But even still, you need boundaries and guidelines for yourself to protect yourself and the other people that you come across. So that's where the whole guide comes in.
That is a really good idea, because I know at first notice people are going to say, "Oh, she trying to be a hoe out here, blah blah blah." But in essence, it's not. It's really, hey, if you're out here and you want to enjoy the pleasures of sex, be responsible. It's a responsibility guide, so to speak. It's not just, oh, forget who, don't catch feelings, don't this. No, it's really, yeah, that's it. Don't catch feelings, because that other person can be affected by it as well. And I'm sure, cleansing yourself, and there are many more. You don't want to give it all away on the show, but when it does drop, we got to bring you back when you rebrand it and come back out.
Yes.
But I'd like to say, we're about to wrap it up, but I like to say today's show, it was very enlightening, and it's caused me to think about a lot of things that I'm doing in my life currently that I might need to. I definitely, I don't want to say might. I definitely need to take into not consider. I definitely need to do what you and Rizzy been talking about, and
Yep.
get
Same here.
know myself a little better, to be better. And that, I guess we all been looking for a way to self-care. Like, that's been the big topic lately, mental health and all that. But I think overall mental health deals with relationship, your view on the world, how you feel about yourself in this world, and those people around you. So I want to thank you and Rizzy today for really enlightening us. We'll be back again in the future with you guys to come on some more topics, because you two together, it's an event with you two together. The fact that you never met, this is your first time meeting, and I swear to God, I'm looking at both of you like y'all been homegirls all your life. So there is a connection, that energy that both of you put forth. When you do meet, there is a connection. So you two belong together. So I hope I'll after we finish off, we'll connect with Rizzy and whatnot.
Yes.
So I want to thank you and Rizzy. And before we go, I want to, where can people contact you, Siobhan?
You can find me on Instagram. That's where I currently am, because Facebook keeps putting me in jail. So I don't talk about any of these things on Facebook, because I am always in Facebook jail.
I know. I was like, where's Siobhan go? Then she come back. I was in jail, y'all.
Facebook jail for like 8 days. So I just stopped talking about these topics on Facebook. So I am the Muses Lab on Instagram. I am also on Twitter. I'm Siobhan L on Twitter, but I just be playing on Twitter. So if you want to follow me and see all the ignorant stuff that I be talking about. I mean, I do talk about sex and pleasure and things of that nature, but I also be playing on Instagram. I be fooling.
Okay. And that's part of it all. It's not, you got to be serious, and because I think people say, oh, she's so spiritual, she'll never play around. But I think that's part of it overall. Just, your full encompassing self. I like to have fun. I can be serious. I can be spiritual. I can be all these things. I am everything, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And to start a conversation too.
Yes.
Yeah. It's definite. So, Siobhan, I'd like to thank you. I'd also like to thank Rizzy for being on the show. You can check her out. Contact her, Rizzy, at akurawellness.com. And also, you can contact her on Instagram at Riziki Zafara. I got to get used to saying that. I just always called
Yes.
her. But definitely, you can contact Micah and myself. Follow us on Instagram and below. You can see it at the Inside Out Podcast. You can also on Twitter as well, L Felix Media. And where else we at, Micah? Facebook, the Inside Out Podcast, where
Yep.
we will, yeah, we're broadcasting live there as well, and Twitch. We just added Twitch,
Yes.
L Felix Media. So we're trying to glow up just like you, Siobhan. One day, hopefully, we'll get to your level. You know what I'm saying? But but again, thank you. I really appreciate you coming out today and joining us for conversation.
This
And
is
it's
wonderful.
really enlightening. And I just want to say thank you. Anything for you, Micah?
Siobhan, thank you for joining us today. Excuse my silence. I was just amazed and learning throughout this whole session today. Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. That silence is an answer. Silence is a communication. So that means that you were attentive and you were still a part of the conversation, even though you weren't verbally part of the conversation, you were still into the conversation and you were gaining.
You get me. See?
I get you.
I've been preaching that my whole life, and people just
Yeah. But we're going to preach that you talk some more, too. You know what I'm saying? Just playing. But I'd like to thank all our listeners out there and viewers. You can check us out. This the audio version will be available on all platforms by Monday. And we'll probably do a replay. I'll probably do a replay of this tomorrow and Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. It's a great conversation. And I thank you and Rizzy and Micah and everyone for joining us today. It's been the Inside Out Podcast. I'm Linton Felix. He is Micah Almond. She is Siobhan L. The Muses Lab. Check her out. God bless. And see you later.